galaxy is burning. Brother fights brother, and treason splits the Imperium of man. This is the Age of Darkness. Welcome to the Remembrancers retreat, coming to you from within the depths of the Vengeful Spirit.
Hello and welcome to an episode of the Remembrancers Retreat, a Warhammer 30k podcast. Happy New Year. It is 2024, January. We're back, and I'm here today with Michael and Austin.
Hey.
What up?
So, how have things been going?
Pretty good. Holidays were busier than I wanted, but
Yes.
I have still managed to squeak in a lot of good hobby time.
Excellent.
My holidays were kind of a disaster. Flew to LA. Most of the people we wanted to see there had COVID. Flew to Kansas. Grandfather broke his hip. All of us were sick.
Oh, geez.
So it's been balls. He's gonna be okay. But it was one of those things where like he's in the hospital and the three of us are sick. So I guess we're just not going to see him so we don't accidentally give him the Rona or whatever the fuck we had.
Jeez.
Well, I guess not COVID because we tested a million times, but whatever. However, leaving personal and work life aside, it's been a great time for hobbying, Jesse.
That's great.
Yeah.
I've been really getting into it.
Awesome. Yeah, I know you've been basically on a bit of a Imperialis kick there for a bit.
So I have lost my mind, dear listeners.
It's true.
I don't think I can say I'm on an LI kick. I bought the starter set. I read the rule book.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a good set of rules. You know, I'm a net epic guy. That's kind of how I got into epic and like epic Armageddon before that. This is not that. This is more the old stuff, but we've talked about that. But I realized early on that I wanted to play the Solar Auxilia for LI. But I didn't want to get rid of my tiny Marines because they were so cool.
Yeah.
So I'm doing Minihammer.
This way lies madness.
Yes, you had hinted at that early on before it released.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't quite grasp that concept, because Michael is shaking his head just shaking his head.
I think he grasped the concept.
Can you screenshot that and just have that be the episode cover? Just a GIF of Mike shaking his head. Just
Would be funny.
Just fuck. Yeah, so the Badab War and we're going. I apologize to my listeners who are here for 30K. But that was like kind of the original Heresy almost. From like a marketing gameplay perspective.
Sure.
It was the Badab War, which is Huron Blackheart. He's a Space Marine chapter master. He goes kind of rogue, and it starts off as inter-imperial shenanigans, and then he loses his mind and goes to, well, not loses his mind, but like they all go to chaos. Like his chapter, which got built up to like 3,000 Marines or something while nobody was looking, fell to chaos. He brought some chapters with him that were loyalist, that after the war remained loyalist, got sent on penitent crusade. It's a whole deal, but it was like a black book, Marine on Marine kind of fighting. There's some Imperial Guard involved, whatever, but it was almost a prototype for what later happened in Heresy 1.0.
Yeah, and because I'm not too familiar with it, is this like it's like early Imperial armor books that covered this, or is it its own separate thing?
It was Imperial armor. Yes, Imperial armor book 4 and 5. So yeah, kind of early Imperial armar.
Damn.
Okay,
I'm impressed I got that right.
Well, I'm about to pull up my book here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There's
no way I got that right. I haven't read them.
Volume 10. So 9 and 10.
Oh, okay.
Or at least 10 is part 2. Part 1 is
Volume
9. Go
9.
grab it here.
That's probably
Volume 9. Sorry. And normally we just let that go, but unfortunately I had the right answer right there. I couldn't help myself. But anyway, so it's
I should be fact checked at every opportunity.
Yes, but we don't fact check each other because we're wrong so much. So that had like Mark IV armor and like Mark III armor because some of the chapters were way the hell out of kind of Imperial supply. Famously, the Red Scorpions are in majority Mark IV. The Carcharodons were in old stuff, and there's like plates. The old plates of like, here's a Marine, here's their squad, in the older marks of armor. And it was really cool. It's a really cool concept. It was awesome. And here I am with half an army or half a starter box worth of tiny Space Marines. And as you know, I'm kind of a grognard, and I've got a bunch of 3rd edition, like Codex, starter, rulebook, all that. And 3rd edition, you needed fewer troops compared to recent 40K and especially 30K, right? So I decided to pick 2 chapters from that conflict, and I'm going to do full-on Minihammer, which is exactly what it sounds like. I cut all the dimensions for everything by a quarter, or down to a quarter, because that's ostensibly the scale for LI. So all of my tiny Marines are on 8mm bases. Technically, the TAC Marines should be on 7s, and the Terminators on 8mm. But you can't find 7mm magnets, so that's my concession.
Wait a second. I'm not sure. You're putting each individual tiny Marine on a base?
Yes.
That's the mad part.
That's the mini part of the Minihammer, Jesse.
Austin,
that's the crazy part.
Austin, what are you doing?
So my master plan, many moons ago, like when Net Epic, or when Epic Armageddon first dropped, there was a gentleman, and it was in a White Dwarf, who created a travel set of 40K using the Epic models. And it was like 750 points of like Orcs versus Space Marines, right? I'm going to do the same thing. I chose Executioners as my traitor Space Marine force for this. Executioners are Fafnir Rand's descendants. Fafnir Rand being the only cool thing to ever come out of the Imperial Fists. Roll your eyes at me all you want, Michael, but name a cooler dude. Name a cooler dude from the Imperial Fists.
I mean, apparently you haven't heard much about mine. I got this Esoterrorist that's real sick.
Hey, your Esoterrorist might be real sick, but he's not in the Black Library fluff yet.
Yeah, well, Black Library at me, I guess.
He's probably joining the Executioners if he lives through the Heresy. I'm just saying.
Oh, he's not living through the Heresy. He's an Esoterrorist. He's not on that side of the fight.
Oops. So they're in kind of a bluish silver armor with like some bronze-ish honor markings. So like a sergeant might have a bronze helmet and like a bronze shoulder pad. The backpacks are kind of a weird... What is this color that I'm using? Sycorax bronze is kind of the closest modern color, like a very, very light bronze or bright silver, either way. So I've got 2 TAC squads with plasma guns and missile launchers. Sergeants, I've done some converting. I've lost my mind a little bit.
I did see some of the conversion.
Yeah, and maybe I'll send some pictures so we can post them so people can see. But just some of them are just like, oh, I swapped the weapons on the sergeants. I did create an entire extra veteran, so I sculpted like a tabard and a crest for him. Did some surgery on some other stuff. So they've also got a squad of Terminators, a squad of Assault Marines, and the Executioners have 2 of the Predators and a couple of Rhinos from when they were giving out free Rhinos. And then my other force is going to be Howling Griffins, which are just fucking cool. Like that quartered white and red scheme, or yellow and red scheme, is amazing.
It's good.
Yeah. And it looks real good in 6mm. I actually have a detachment of Howling Griffins from original Epic when I made a force of Space Marines that like each unit was a different chapter. Because the problem with playing Epic scale in 40K means that if you lose, 300 Marines are dead and your chapter is kind of fucked for a while.
Yeah.
I remember one weekend I was playing and I destroyed the Salamanders chapter in its entirety because my buddy and I played 3 games of Epic and I tabled his Salamanders 3 times.
Oh,
And
boy.
he had about 300 Marines on the table each time. And well, you do the math. It was a bad outing. So I've got them. They're all on magnets, individually based on magnets. They each unit also, or each chapter also has a dreadnought. And I'm going to find a briefcase somewhere because apparently they're so out of fashion that like Goodwill doesn't have briefcases anymore. But I'm going to find a briefcase because what I want to do is have an entire 3rd edition game self-contained in a briefcase. So I've got like the terrain, like the destroyed terrain that came out when LI came out. I'm going to magnetize that. And then you can get printed like car magnets because the whole table, if you scale it down, is 18 inches by 12 inches. So I'm going to be able to play the entire game in a briefcase. And instead of having a bunch of crap, because like when I travel to LA to see like my wife's family, like I got a bunch of friends out there that are gamers, but now I have a child. So all of my carry-on is full of kids' stuff.
Sure.
Instead of armies. So if I can get just one briefcase with a whole game in it, that will be awesome. And yeah, I've been having a blast. Got little chapter symbols on them and everything. It's been fantastic. The executioners are all done. Except I've got to paint like the black rims of the bases because otherwise Zach will be mad at me. And like get some decals going.
Whew. That sounds cool.
Have you located the rubber-tipped tweezers you're going to need for moving them around?
No. Unnecessary.
No?
Unnecessary. I will seal the ever-loving shit out of them.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
But you won't actually have to pick them up all that much. Like if they go up and down terrain, obviously, but otherwise, because it's going to be on sheet magnet and they're on magnets, so it'll just slide them along. And I'm going to pick out some movement, like some sticks instead of tape measures, just because that'll probably be a little easier to poke them around. And you just shuffle them along.
Maybe some narrow acrylic or something.
Yeah. I also need to source some very tiny blast markers. Because I thought about just having no blast markers, but then the Howling Griffins have 5 missile launchers and some multi-meltas, which admittedly don't have blasts, but they're cool.
If you talk to Mike DeBolt, I think he's figured something out for a tiny fantasy.
Yeah, he might have some, although his are going to be for 10 mil, so they might be the wrong size. Or I figure like Wake, somebody with a laser printer or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my plan. It's going to be all GW stuff, keeping it very kosher, and that's been my whole hobby. My whole hobby, from like when LI dropped to now. I've just been having so much fun with it.
So LI drops, you cling on to it and work on something other than LI with it.
Well, you know me.
Oh yeah, we do. It's how we roll.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see the Solar Ox in play. I still have a few models myself. I was out of the country for a few weeks during the Christmas season, so I hadn't had a lot of time to hobby. And also the first few weeks before I left were just a madhouse of trying to get everything sorted out before I left the country. So, but it's been good. And then this month, Michael, you at Battlegrounds, you ran an event, Battles in the Black.
Yeah.
I played. And it was a lot of fun. It was a good time. 2,000 points, 2 games, all night fighting all the time. And quite honestly, I think a lot of people had a really good time, myself included. Playing a 2-game format as opposed to a 3, it was weird. It was like going to a all-you-can-eat buffet and leaving and not feeling like you hate yourself like it normally does. Which happened afterwards when we went out for hot pot afterwards.
Yeah. We saved it for later.
Which, my God, we could go out and eat at 6:30 in the evening instead of like 9:30 when everyone's trying to close up. It was a good time. I was shocked how well that format played. I'm starting to feel like, ooh, a 2-game Saturday afternoon feels pretty good.
It was nice, low key. First mission was a modified core mission from Siege Cathonia. The second mission was a modified exemplary battle mission. And everyone had a ton of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, can't go wrong with simple events at this point, you know?
Yeah.
Man, part of me wonders if it's just us as we're all getting older and laden with more general responsibility and pressure, or is it everybody? I have no clue. I don't know.
Are we just getting old?
I don't want to. Yeah.
I'll say I'm still down to do some all-day gaming sessions.
Okay, well,
maybe go into the night a little bit. However, I will run what is desired ultimately, because I want people to show up to my events.
Yep. But let's see. Yeah, no, we've been doing this. God, this podcast's been going since.
Don't think about it.
2017.
Don't think.
Crap.
Why would you say that?
Just saying. It's nuts. We have been getting older.
All you have to say is that we're pre-pandemic, so they don't think we were just a bunch of bored white guys starting a pandemic podcast.
We were doing this well before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were bored well before the pandemic.
Yeah, get off my back about it.
Fair enough.
Let's see. What have I been doing hobby-wise last month? I honestly don't remember when the last time we recorded was, because it's been a minute. It's been a hot minute.
Yeah. It was near Thanksgiving time. I know you were working on your LI stuff.
Yeah. I was
doing Ultramarines, right?
Yeah, doing Ultramarines. I was pushing hard through that. I got up to the point where I could play with 2,000 points.
Nice.
And then I had to switch to something else because I was going to go cross-eyed. But also
You're weak.
With the 2,000 points, I actually got a game in, which I don't know if I talked about last time or not.
No, how'd that go?
No.
I quite liked it.
Good.
There were a few rules wrinkles where we had to try and figure some things out. There's definitely can be some things that players need to learn so that they don't fall into those traps again. But overall, it felt good.
Any of those that really stuck out to you?
My big surprise was how tough tanks are.
Really?
Yeah, because they just have a 3-up save, 1 wound, not a big deal, until you consider that las cannons are AP -1. So most of your anti-tank weapons still leave the tank with a 4-up save.
I see.
And Leman Russes actually have a 2-up save, so...
What, really?
Yeah.
Russes are good at this.
Russes are real good.
How'd the Malcadors go?
Malcadors were a little easier to kill. My opponents were running a squadron of, I think it was like 8 Leman Russes. So I'll be honest, that was the concern, not the 4 Malcadors.
Fair enough.
Also, if you can find any of the aircraft, you're going to want them.
Yeah.
Aircraft are real good. They're also a good chunk of points, so it's a good way of bulking out a list. And if you don't have anything to intercept enemy aircraft, they will have a field day with you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how it was. And now when there's no anti-aircraft ground units yet.
Right.
Yeah, bring some air cover, boys and girls. The skies are unfriendly.
Bombers are nasty. Xiphons are nasty. One other surprise I had is I brought a Warhound Titan for that game. And it did jack all.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Its guns just didn't have enough dice, and it wasn't tough enough. The moment my opponents decided they needed it gone, it blew up. And in the meantime, it was, I think it blew up a grand total of 4 tanks.
Okay.
Which,
compared to the price of the Warhound.
Yeah.
I haven't played with him yet, but as far as the Warhound goes, what do you feel? Is it meant to be a certain platform for a specific type of unit to kill, or is it supposed to be kind of around all depending on what layout, what loadout you give it?
I don't know. I just know that at 330 points, it did not feel great.
Gotcha.
The one thing I can see is giving it the Inferno guns and running it up to just hose down buildings. Because entrenched infantry are hard to shift. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, I can see that being effective.
I'm hoping to, in like 2-3 weeks, get another game in. Would be next week, but I'm going to be at a wedding. So
at a wedding when Old World drops.
Well, y'all can't get me into Old World.
This was poorly timed.
No, you're not getting me with Old World. That's too many models to paint. I simply will not.
I'm honestly rolling with Michael with this one, Austin and Jared. We're here. Y'all can fight it all you want, but no, we're good.
If I run out of things to paint, I might get into some like 10 millimeter Old World.
If you need a War Master army, I've got a couple unpainted sitting around.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you need stuff, if you run out of stuff to paint, I can help you out with that, Michael.
There's that too.
He'll put you to work. Nova is only 12 months or 10 months away.
Oh, shut up.
Speaking of painting, I've been doing some of that as well. In some of my other gaming and through December, as I too have been looking at the old 3rd edition books. And I broke out my Sister's Battle as part of a small witch hunters army and played around with that. I did not actually play 3rd edition back when it was out, though I remember reading about it in the White Dwarf and kind of wishing I did. So it was nice to actually play that game. I liked it quite a bit. It's interesting seeing where all of the layers and layers of added complexity as GW tried to desperately balance their game started. And I have been getting back on my bullshit and painting and converting more Inquisition.
There you go.
As is only right and just.
Yep. I've got like 3 new Inquisitors, already had a dozen. It's fine. Doing up some acolytes.
Yeah, we were talking about this a little earlier, Michael, but you mentioned with the 3rd edition. And it is, at this point in day, like for me, for people who don't know, I'm a technical writer, so I'm used to liking having things precise. And 3rd edition is absolutely not that, which normally would get my goat. However, the fact that it's just a casual game played amongst close friends makes it that much more enjoyable. If I were to bring it to an event setting where it's like 100 different strangers and I'm trying to get this guy, I would think I would go insane trying to run something like that. But when I know it's literally that beer and pretzels with your close friends and reading how informally the rules are, laid out, it's kind of delightful. I haven't done it yet, but I'll probably be on the hunt for some old Dark Angel veterans and make a rough Dark Angels 3rd edition army. Because why the fuck not?
Yeah.
Right? Why not? And that's the fun thing. Because for as much as people complain, justly or unjustly, depending on the rule in question, about GW being like, oh, this is unclear or unprecise for any game GW currently makes.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, madam, take 10 minutes with the 3rd edition book.
Yeah. Yes.
You're not wrong. I feel like it's GW at their best is knowing that this is not a serious thing. You're just be hanging out with your buddies, throwing some minis on the table, rolling some dice.
Which, quite honestly, reading the Imperialis rule book, you could feel like echoes of that, where there is like lots of like sidebars with commentary and just like informal editorial why we're doing this, and I found that pretty enjoyable.
I feel like the recent trend they've got into of trying to write their stuff like it's almost technical documents was a mistake because it gets away from the heart of what their game has always been.
The game itself, it's not a precise machine. That's the thing. We are literally moving with rough tape measures and just random stuff with, you can only get but so technical. And I'm slowly coming to realize that myself now too. So you got to find that balance. You got to make sure that people can all be on the same page, but at the same time, like unless you're a tournament player, like how often are you playing against people that you don't know other than, or who just aren't your friends yet at this point?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. GW is very good about getting everybody on the same page. but there are people that demand they be on the same word.
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
just like, come on now.
It's
We'll get you to the same sentence. But one of you has got a B in high school English, and one of you got a D, and one of you got an A, and between the three of you, you have 4 different ways to interpret this sentence written by an Englishman who was just trying to make you have a good time.
Yeah.
You're all American. What do we know about the English language? Play casual.
like I look at like 10th edition now. It feels pretty soulless. I'm not going to lie. Like, I love the models. The models are great. I'm highly tempted of picking up that Deathwing Assault box that's coming out because, damn it, those were the first type of Terminators that I bought from the Dark Vengeance set.
Run a Pride of the Legion list with a bunch of Indoms.
Why not? I'm really curious to see what they would look like in, black instead of bone.
Sexy. That's how they look, Jesse. You paint a sexy black.
But, regardless, like, I look at the game, it feels very geared. I know they have, what do they call it? The Crusade stuff, which I think helps in the right direction. But when I go to our FLGS and the tables are put up exactly the same with certain boxes of like, okay, this is where this is, and just, I don't know. There's something
a step above Warmahordes, but not as big a step as you would like. And
feels
Warmahordes
like
is getting
Warmahorde
terrain now.
Oh, yeah. It is. I was about to say, because it's like Warmahordes, but if Warmahordes had 3D terrain instead of just the flat neoprene.
They had 3D terrain last Nova, so I guess I can't make that joke as much as I used to. But no, it's funny because I don't know if either of you are familiar with Black Powder.
Not really.
So that's a historical rule set that's been out for forever, and it's hugely popular. It's mostly Napoleonics, but it does, anything from kind of right before World War I back to, American Revolution, anything with gunpowder, it does, right?
As the name says on the tin.
With black powder, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, don't make the joke, Michael. It's fine.
Okay, but what about my cannons on sticks?
Wildly popular, gets played at a ton of conventions, is kind of the 40K equivalent of historical gaming.
Okay. Interesting.
No points values at all.
Really?
None whatsoever. And it's straight up, and it is kind of still written in that kind of 3rd edition style of you're all adults, or at least you're all friends and teenagers. Figure it out. Just have a cool time.
Okay. So, and without points, what's their rough scale of measuring the size of an army? I imagine there has to be something.
Go pick a historical battle, create an order of battle, play that fight, or just kind of agree with your buddy that you're going to bring, a division of French, and I'm going to bring a division of Russians. And the Russians are shittier leadership. So maybe I'll have an extra brigade. Is that cool with you? Yeah, that's cool. All right. Let's go fight a battle.
Wild. Absolutely wild.
It's insane. And that's like 2 hands off for me, right? Because even in a friendly, it can be really cool if you want to refight Waterloo or whatever the hell.
Sure.
But I need points just to make sure. Like for me, it's am I being a dick meter?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't want to just bring a bunch of Space Wolves and fight a bunch of your Dark Angels, because what if I miscalculated and I have twice the power of you, and just like, what are we even doing? Right.
40K also just has a lot more variation.
Yeah, there's also a lot more variation. It's not just a bunch of guys with muskets.
Does 10th edition have the power levels still?
Or I don't think so.
I think they gave it up. But yeah, it is fun to kind of look back at those older editions of 30K or 40K and see like what's come back around, especially Heresy 2.0. Like you can see a lot of that love. Like it's definitely a tighter game. Game. But I feel like that spirit's still there. And now they're like, well, we know everybody wants to wants to run an event and play with total strangers sometimes. So we got to try and tighten it up a little bit, but like, just be cool. Don't be a dick. Where's that Still Mania list, right? Like, got that vibe.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say at this point, looking back, like other than a few egregious units, which have been nerfed recently, we still haven't actually covered the FAQ, and I will get to that later.
And this episode is titled FAQ ?
Hey man, between Thanksgiving and prepping for leaving and being gone,
right? I mean, I was gone the whole month of December. It's
Our fearless leader was out of the country, and none of the rest of us know how to hit the record button. So
we're not tech priests. We can't make it work,
right?
Well, to be fair, I volunteered to do it, and then the only time you guys wanted to record was in December when I was on the other side of the country.
Well, there we go. Yeah, it's the holidays.
So there's a tech priest. There's what do the guard have? Why am I blanking?
The one guard's been dumb enough to touch the machine without the tech priest's approval.
Like, he's not a tech priest. He's a tech. Fuck me. How do I not know this?
This is hurtful. I
actually don't know what you're talking about. All the guard codexes I've seen have had engine seers, which are tech priests.
No, engine seers. Yes, engine seers are actually a step down from full tech priests. They're not. They're like think like a lay minister.
Okay,
like that's an equivalent. Yeah, right.
PIL.
Learn something new every day.
Yeah.
Christ, thanks for covering on that one. Jesse will edit this out in post, and I'll look like a genius. I wonder how many times I've said Jesse will edit this in post, and people just hear that.
I'm going to say about 50% of the time these days.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, that's better than I thought.
Oh, no, that's gone down. Trust me, that's gone down.
Yeah, I figured him saying Jesse will edit it in post. I guaranteed it was staying in.
Now I've totally lost my train of thought.
Engine seers, and I actually don't know what the train of thought was on the engine seers. I will not edit this in post. Anyways, So the FAQ. Okay.
I was comparing myself to an engine seer. Jesse is the tech priest. I'm the engine seer. Michael is the guy standing around the BFG codex with a fire hose, waiting for someone to come over and push the on button.
Yup.
Okay. So outside of a few egregious units, Heresy, for the most part, other than a few people take like a bunch of contemptors or something, there really isn't much that feels overbearing in my mind from what I've seen lately.
No, I agree. Like, I thought, like, the list that I am now just bringing, right? It's my list for this edition. Mm-hmm. Bunch of Terminators, like everybody's in a 2-up armor. Everybody has 2 wounds. Everybody's weapon skill 5 minimum. And I thought that would be either unfun to play or unfun to play against. Mm-hmm. And admittedly, limited outings, that just doesn't seem to be the case. It's a ton of fun. It doesn't feel oppressive to play against per my opponents. Mm-hmm. And it only wins about half the time. So there you go.
Yeah. What more can you ask for?
Right?
But yeah, have you played any of the core missions, Austin? The new ones from the Cathonia? Have you had a chance to do any of those?
Yes, I've played it. Funnily enough, even though it was randomly generated, I played the same damn mission. It's the one with the objective that punts around.
Yeah, we've all been running into that.
Used. That's that was the first mission for the event I ran. Yeah, yep, it's a good one.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Yeah.
Both times I played it, it's been an absolute blast.
That was the one that we played 3-on-3.
Yeah,
too, wasn't it? Yeah,
yeah, and it came down to the wire.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see that it could go very badly, but it hasn't. So I'm all for it. Because for those of you that don't know, it's the one where you get on the objective, and if anybody scores the objective, it scatters. Like
6 plus D6 inches.
Yeah, 6 plus D6 inches. And then it sits there until somebody scores it, in which case it scatters again. Mm-hmm. So it flies all over the place and is a ton of fun. Obviously, if it just like flew into somebody's deployment zone and stayed there, it would be less fun. But it certainly rewards having a list that isn't a gun line. So
Yeah.
I approve,
missions,
or at least not a stationary gun line.
Yeah.
And I approve of that.
Yeah.
A lot of new core missions really focus on objectives and scoring in line, which I appreciate.
Mhm.
And with the introduction of the sudden death special rule, where even if you are wiped out off the table on a turn, you don't automatically lose. So I appreciate that. And alongside with the 4-turn game instead of the 6-turn, like I know some folks don't like it. I personally do like it, where each move that I make feels more meaningful. Like, do I choose to assault this guy, or do I hold back and try to take this objective? Things like that, where I really have to think about each and every individual move. And also, it generally runs a little bit faster too, which I like.
Yeah, it certainly runs faster. And there is, like, it's pros and cons, right? Because sometimes it's turn 5. Is the game ending right now? Like, do I try for some glorious thing, or do I sit here and hope that it doesn't work? Like, that's interesting, but it's also feels better when your unit gets annihilated on turn 2 to be like, well, it played half the game.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it for me, because I generally tend to play more of a smaller elite units, smaller elite armies. And so, in older games, most of my stuff's wiped out by turn 4 and 5.
Mhm.
I might have a unit or two remain by turn 6. Usually by turn 6, it's pretty well thought. Like, it's done.
Yeah,
But,
and regardless, by turn 6, the outcome isn't really that much different than it would have been on turn 5 in the old edition. Like,
in many cases, I think.
Outside of 1 or 2 really good games, yeah.
well, and even then, would it have been the same outcome if you'd known for a fact the game is ending on 5 and you could have planned it that way from the get-go?
Yeah.
I mean, again, there's some games where that's true, but so yeah, I thought I would be very annoyed by the game going to 4 turns, and it's been nice, to be honest.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, like I said, with the event you ran Saturday, Michael, the juice started flowing again for me a bit.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah, I was bummed to miss it. Not bummed enough to go, obviously, but
Yeah.
it was my wife's birthday weekend, so we were doing that sort of stuff.
Sure.
One of these days you'll make it back down, and I'll have some proof that you actually live, aren't just a voice in the machine.
When is your next event, Michael?
I will let you know. I do know it's going to be 5,000 points. So,
Jesus fuck, Michael.
But one game, 5,000.
One game,
points, right?
5,000 points. Gonna have some weird things you can do if you don't quite have 5,000 points. If you're not taking a Lord of War or a Primarch, you can instead take an allied detachment of your same sub-faction. So just throw a couple extra HQs and the rest of your, let's be honest, heavy supports and elites in the army.
I swear to God, Mike, I'm going to bring Space Wolf Bikers to 4,000 points and then a regular allied detachment of militia of 200 models.
Do it.
There you go.
Fucking do it.
Speaking of that, we hadn't talked much about the FAQ. However, I think it caught us all by surprise because we were reading this, but regarding sub-factions and allied detachments, the ability that you can take as many allied detachments as you want as far as per the rules.
Yep.
I have always assumed that you can only take one. I think most of it's just because the mental model with the visual showing one allied detachment.
Mm-hmm.
But according to the rules and the FAQ, no, you can have as many sub-factions as you want.
And I feel like I'm on the outside looking in at this, at least as far as the internet is concerned. I like this. And I like this in the same way that I occasionally like 3rd edition. This is not for fucking some sort of 30K version of Ard Boys, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is for, hey, you and your bros want to play a cool narrative event, but still want to constrain yourselves as far as like points and force org goes, so you're not accidentally a dick to somebody. That's what this is for. I know people have been talking about like, oh, well, you could combo this. No, you're doing the game badly.
Right.
It's true.
Like for myself.
Siege of Terra.
And I mean, again, I say playing the game badly. If you and your buddy want to make the dickest list you can and beat the shit out of each other at your FLGS, I want to know how that battle goes. Like, not even like you live your life, but I'm interested because it sounds like I enjoy sometimes that kind of Ard Boise, make the dickest list you can and go be a dick. But to somebody I know,
Right.
like I want to be a dick to Jared. I don't want to roll up to like Nova 2024 and some random dude and be like, so I got 7 allied detachments and here's my cool unbeatable Death Star. You might as well just pick up your models, bruh. I'm going to collect. Oh, we don't give out prizes for winning games at 30K Harris balls. I guess just my bar tab.
But what I'm thinking is for myself, I was telling Michael about this the other day, potentially a militia of like a Caliban Jaegers as my primary detachment. And then because
You've talked about that army for a long time.
Yep. Yes, I have.
Yeah.
But a subfaction allied detachment, because you can have multiple subfactions of the same, or you can have multiple allied detachments of the same subfaction. So you can have a Deathwing allied detachment. I could have a Firewing allied detachment. Just need an HQ and some troops.
Jesse, that sounds so fucking cool.
A Deathwing champion and 40 Deathwing despoilers allied detachment. We're all coming at you with swords and chainswords. Watch out.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jesse. You got a few months, 5,000 points. Let's go.
Yep.
Do it. I've painted more militia in less time.
But also because maybe I might not have militia ready yet. However, I was looking at other things. I do have some old knights that I got from Will, and looking at the Questoris House force organization chart, I could do a Knight House. I can do because I only have 2 armigers. So I can choose 1 Cerastus. I have a Castigator, have 2 individual armigers as my troops. That's my primary detachment. Then throw in allied detachments on the back of that.
Yeah.
Nothing's stopping me, as far as I can tell.
As long as the Knight detachment can take allied detachments, which I think it can.
Yeah.
So,
The Questoris household can.
Then there you go.
Yep. So that'll be my backup.
Yeah.
But yeah, it opens up. It's fun. I don't recall there ever actually being anything that explicitly said you can only have 1 allied detachment, and I think everyone just made one of those assumptions.
That's one of the things.
The chart.
The picture of the chart, and then if you went to a like Adepticon, LVO, Nova, Mike's event, it would be like, hey, you can take a list, and it would either be no allied detachment for whatever thing was going on, or you can have 1 allied detachment. So it was already like it was self-regulating, but the community, because you're right, I don't think GW ever actually said. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen, that's still a thing that can happen. So like you'd be like, well, GW said I could have 1 million events. Yeah, bro, if you come to like, LVO, because none of us are involved with that, so I can pretend to be LVO, and LVO says 1 allied detachment, you go, yep, that's LVO's thing for whatever event they're doing. If they want to say no more than 3 allied detachments, also a thing, right? So
it's like our events where it's like no Primarchs.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That's not actually a rule anywhere. I could take a Primarch.
Yep. It's just event rules, which, self-regulating.
Stand by for my event where no primary detachment, just take allied detachments.
Your primary, you must have a primary detachment. That primary detachment cannot be more than 1 HQ and 2 troops.
Oops, all allies. Forces will be using the allied chart on the Crusade Force Organization chart.
All right, boys, pencil it in. We're doing it. I don't know when, but I'll figure it out. That would be
So,
hilarious.
I mean, honestly, for smaller games,
you say, hey,
perfect.
We're going to have like 700-point games. You got to bring 5 allied detachments, and we're just going to like draw 2 allied detachments out of a hat. And that's what you're playing with.
Okay.
So it'll be like a 1,400 point game every time, but you just allied detachments out of a hat. Be great. That would be as close as possible to my dream game, which is random blind doubles. In that,
Oh yeah,
and nobody would do it because you don't want random nerds touching your models for a
Absolutely.
day.
Yeah.
sure.
But if everybody showed up with a 1,500 point list, that list got randomly assigned to somebody, and then you got randomly assigned a battle buddy for the day, and you just rolled dice. That to me is like peak random, event awesome.
We got close to that on Wednesday night at Nova with the blind date doubles.
Yeah. I love that sort of stuff. Like
Yeah.
my all-time favorite event
Mhm.
was Hobbies in Fredericksburg, which is long closed, had a random doubles event where you played with a different ally every game,
Mhm.
and it was an absolute blast. And they gave out prizes for the player that gamed with the allies that had the worst overall score.
Yeah.
Because you kept track of did you win the game, and the events that or the objectives your side scored, and the objectives that you personally scored of that side.
Uh-huh.
So it was like, hey, you got paired with 3 people that were just dog shit. Here's a prize, stuff like that. It was a blast.
That's cool.
Where are we at time wise, Jesse?
Oh, we've got about another 10 minutes.
God damn it! I had really hoped that initial segue was a segue into the Militia Provences.
Oh, well,
The new Militia Provences.
the ones that are based on Mechanicum.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about this real quick? Do you feel like you have enough time? We can go a little over if you want.
It makes me so happy.
Let's do it, because there's only a few, right?
There's only 3.
All right.
Yeah.
And
Let's talk about it.
one of them at least is just stupidly simple. But the first one makes me very happy because one of the big, I don't want to say downers because I do enjoy the new militia, but one of the things that I regretted was no Laszlocks.
Now, this is from the Exemplary Liberation of Constanix 2.
Yeah. Liberation of Constanix 2. Which funnily enough, the fluff, which is kind of interesting, is just sort of hey, dark mech, there was a Forge World, they fought over it, they did some creepy stuff to some of the people involved on the planet. But there's not a lot of talk specifically on militia. And then hey, these are kind of Mechanicum aligned militia, Mechanicum related militia.
Mechanicum victim militia?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just 3 more dumped on top of all the other militia rules. First one is Arms of the Mechanicum, and you just upgrade las guns to las rifles for no additional cost. Fun. But you can give grenadier squads and command cadres Laszlocks. And upgrade sniper rifles.
Is that a play on flintlocks?
Yeah.
Yes.
How did I just realize that?
Because
I've
you
always been
haven't...
because I don't play black powder. That's why.
Because you haven't read Armor of Contempt, where the excubators have single-shot las rifles. Yeah, they're essentially either breech loading or muzzle loading, depends on the variety, but swear to God, muzzle loading, laser rifles.
Just put that laser pack in there.
It might be pump action, and by pump action, I mean squirt gun.
Yeah,
you gotta charge the round.
So I've been picturing the weapons from Fallout 4 where they had the crank powered las guns.
Yeah, some of those, absolutely.
The little ones in the Futurama where they play.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like in Futurama.
100%.
I'm sorry.
I need to stress,
derailed.
this isn't good, right? Because you get a Laszlock.
Yeah, I feel like Laszlock feels like.
Yeah, Laszlock.
How's that an upgrade?
It's a
from
side
Las Gun?
grade.
Okay.
It's a side grade because it's still 18 inches, assault 1, strength 4. So I prefer them over las rifles. That's what my old militia ran in 1.0. But you can also upgrade your sniper rifles to arc rifles, which is cool. And I think possibly an actual upgrade. But it is 45 points a unit.
For the whole unit, though, which...
Yeah, okay.
But
Yeah.
it's grenadiers though, so you're only getting like what's
Well, you can
max
still
in a
get
grenadier?
20.
20?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not too bad.
But also, it's not cheap.
No.
It is right on par with just straight up giving them bolters.
Fair enough.
So there's that. And then, hilariously, you can also have the Force Commander with that Providence get a Corpuscent Stave for 5 points and trade out his las pistol for a Radium pistol for 5 points.
So is this the, hey, will you stop bugging us about putting Skitarii in 30K list?
I think that's part of this, yeah.
Okay.
That's part of this. You can also give him a servo arm for 10 points.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
one thing I did also notice, like in the previous option for Blessed Arms, it's 45 points for the unit, regardless of the number of models or type of weapons upgraded in a given unit. So you don't have to give everybody the arc rifles. You just pay that points and then fill out how many you want, which I think is kind of cool. It doesn't lock you into, oh no, now I gotta paint 20 arc rifle guys.
Yeah, it is that, but I think it's more a catch-all because like the sniper, the recon squad is a max of 10 dudes.
I gotcha.
And the Grenadiers are a max of 20, and the command squad is a max of like 10. So
Okay,
I think
I
it
see.
just doesn't
So-
it just doesn't want to play the math game. And figures it'll all kind of even out with the ballistic skill differences and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Again, 45 points, probably more than I want to spend. I think upgrading to Laslox in 1.0 was like 20 points.
Yeah. Although, this might be also a blessing if you're really trying to fill out some points for a militia unit and you're still not quite to the full max amount of militia models you have.
Yeah, if you don't want to paint
Available.
another 200 militia, this is delightful. And I will say, as much as I'm like, this is pricey, the 24th, my old militia army, is back, and they're back with Laslox. They're doing it.
Cool.
So you can't take this in conjunction with Armory of Old Knight, which is interesting. Because it's just kind of like, yeah, if you have weird shit, the Mechanicum wants that, and they're not giving you fancy laser rifles for it, which
If
is
I
fun.
remember correctly, isn't Armory of Old Knight basically doing the same thing, just with more Imperium upgrades than Mechanicum upgrades?
Yeah, but it's stopping you from, I guess, picking the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Like, no, get your needle rifles out of here.
Yeah,
We're a Laslock family.
exactly.
All right.
I don't know. Do you have this up? Do you want to just roll through them?
Yeah, I've got it up. I guess the next one here is
because I'm lazy.
Augmented Levy, which is hilarious.
I'll shoot you the link, Michael.
So this is essentially for all of those people with tech thralls that are like, what the fuck am I doing with all of these tech thralls? Augmented Levy. They receive +1 to their leadership characteristic, or all Imperialis Militia Levy squads, +1 to the leadership characteristic, which brings it up to a mighty 6.
Oh shit, levies
They
are 5?
also, yeah, it's bad.
Oh wow, okay.
They also gain the Stubborn and the Right of Pure Thought special rules.
I like the stubborn. Even leadership 6, you need that goddamn stubborn.
Right? And the Right of Pure Thought special rule, which is hilarious. So they're essentially just turned into robots. Jesse's getting up. He's getting the book.
Yep, I got my book.
All right.
Page 108 of the Liber Mechanicum.
And I will say that is also delightful that they just page check where things are.
The page check is nice. So, to write a pure thought, a unit with this special rule may not make any reactions or sweeping advance moves. Which,
Oops.
well,
But
but
you've lobotomized an army of men. Do you expect them to think independently?
Pure thought only. Sweeping advances is not pure thought. Only think
not.
about shooting gun.
Yeah. You
No,
shoot
no
guns.
thoughts, only gun.
We've got
squeeze
your
trigger.
card punch.
Don't be a fucking hero. Just
Right?
squeeze that trigger.
And you must have Levy as your compulsory troops. Can't have more infantry units apart from HQ of other types than it has militia Levy squads in total,
Okay.
which is pretty standard. Remembering that you can take 3 Levy squads in a single troop choice. So while it limits you in the sense that you have to build and paint a lot of Levy, they are something like 50 points for 50 guys. Like they're fucking
Yeah,
cheap
I
as
was going to
chips.
say, it's like 2 points a unit or something.
Yeah,
2
2
points a
points,
model.
damn near 2 points a unit. They are real cheap, and it is real fun. So you can't take them with Abhuman Muster, Tainted Flesh, Gene Crafted, Unending Hordes, Feral Warriors, or Ogren Conscripts. So pretty much nothing that would allow you to abuse that must have one to take another, or anything that would make these guys really good in combat, in addition to being stubborn with an extra point of leadership, which is a solid mix. Right? Like, I like that. And then the last one, which is by far the best in the sense of you want to come out to Nova and win all of your games and win nothing because we don't reward that. Forge Remnants. And this is, the fluff on this is great because just the force originates from a colony unknowingly settled upon the ruins of a long-forgotten Mechanicum enclave and rediscovered storage vaults replete with the wonders of artifice. And they just repurpose them. So these guys aren't even like Mechanicum, like slave levy. They're just people that happened to show up one day and went, wow, there's a warehouse full of 10,000 Triaros underneath
and a
this.
hand mixer.
And a hand mixer, singular. Because that's what it is.
Sounds
Grenadiers and command cadres may take a Triaros armored conveyor as a dedicated transport, so long as they number 20 models or less. In addition, you may include 3 additional heavy support choices because not just that Triaros warehouse you found, but there's also Krios squadrons. You get 3 additional heavy support choices, but they may only be used to collect Krios squadrons.
Okay. All right.
Balls. Yeah. They do get the third line subunit type, which for those of you that forgot, the third line means every glancing counts as penetrating, and they don't give up victory points ever for nothing, ever. No victory points scored.
No way, no
good.
how.
Yep.
Which is, at very least, an even trade.
Yeah.
And funny.
And funny. And they reduce their ballistic skill to 3. You can't take them with survivors of a Dark Age or Clan Folk Levy. So again, if you've survived the Dark Age, you didn't just settle a Mechanicum base, and no squats allowed. But that's just so fucking good.
It's a shame it locks you into the Krios for the heavy support, but I also kind of understand. I wish you would
No, that's 3 additional. So your 3 heavy support choices are whatever the hell you want from the militia line, to include things like Gorgons and all of that fun stuff. It's just, you get 6 heavy support choices.
Gotcha. 3 of those can only be used if you want to purchase Krios.
Yes.
I got you there.
That's not bad.
You're not losing anything. You're gaining things, but it's a very specific gain.
Yeah, you gain a very specific thing.
But it doesn't lock you out. I gotcha.
Funnily enough, though, unless I'm missing something, this does not make you like sworn brothers with Mechanicum.
Nope.
You're still living that Imperial Army life. Probably because you're just a random world that happened to find a bunch of Krios in a barn somewhere and aren't treating them with the proper respect.
Also, it's the Mechanicum. Who are they sworn brothers with? It's certainly not the randos who, eat dirt and can't read.
On this backwards watered planet.
Yeah.
Right?
Backwater planet, excuse me.
But I love all 3 of these. I don't think we'll see too much of any of them, to be perfectly honest. Like Forge Remnants, you might see some guys running that if they already have a mech army. Again, that augmented levy people. Like, I know we've got some guys in our group that have like 80 tech thralls, like Pat's army. Those might get Arms of the Omnissiah. Again, Laszlocks are cool. Laszlocks are expensive. But it's all really flavorful additions.
Purchasing you nearly entire levy unit.
Yeah, they're all really flavorful additions. Yeah, I cannot wait to see what else happens. Because if this is like, this was kind of out of the blue. There's no reason for it anywhere, which makes me feel like maybe some other stuff will come out of the blue for Militia.
Well, we'll find out. No, the LVO is supposed to have a heresy, at least one heresy reveal. So I'll be curious to see what that is.
God, let it be Plastic Solar Auxilia.
Plastic Solar Rocks would be great. Would be keen on another campaign book.
Yeah,
Not that I haven't finished playing a campaign in the first one, but I do love.
I love them options. And like LI has those new heavy walkers, and like,
oh yeah,
you can't tell me those aren't going to show up in plastic or resin, at least in big kid 30K, like adult size 30K.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Amazing, and I would love to see it.
See, but yeah, this is really neat. I do like just these free, like fluffy options. Like, here you go.
Yeah,
work with this.
And like, again, it goes back to kind of what we were talking about. Like, this is GW at their best, where they're like, hey, we've got some stuff, we've got some rules. Are they like super OP? We hope not, but it's super thematic.
But it's not like, this isn't looking to shake up the meta in any way. This is just a, hey, if you want to run your militia like this,
if you want some mech,
here's a way to do it.
We've seen your Facebook posts, guys. Austin keeps bitching about Laszlocks. Shut up. Here's some Laszlocks. Like, Patrick is wondering where his tech thralls went. Here you go. Do some cool stuff. Make some new minis. Live the dream.
Yeah.
Fully about it.
Definitely. All right. Well, we've pretty much wrapped up an hour for today. So it was good. I don't think we talked about this before since last episode. The new Mark 6 apothecaries.
Oh yeah.
Which, if you haven't taken a look at a Mark 6 and a Mark 5. A Mark 5. They're in resin, however, they look geared towards what we could expect to be eventually, plastic Mark 5 in the future. Looks great. I love the helmet. I love everything about these little guys.
Yeah, they're delightful.
They're really pretty. However, I feel like I've converted all the apothecaries I'm ever going to need.
Fair enough.
There is that great problem with some of these new units coming out.
Yeah.
For the longtime first ed players, that like, I see those assault marines. I do. I want them. I want them very, very badly. I can't justify it. I mean, I'm gonna at some point. I'm gonna justify it. Don't freak out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna justify it, but God, I'd justify Plastic Solar Auxilia so much faster.
Yeah, and like for me, I've collected a lot of resin tanks over the years, and so when the new plastic stuff comes out, I'm like, yay! You're gonna be hard pressed for me to buy some more plastic predators.
Yeah, like plastic Demios. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Plastic Vindicator, loved it. I already have 2 laser destroyers. I might need a 3rd. It's fair.
It's definitely not a problem because it makes it easier for new folks getting into the game.
Oh, absolutely.
But personally, I'm not going to get them.
Yeah.
And I did.
Fair enough.
I can get another 2 Inquisitors.
True. I'll pick these up because I think they're going to look great with my the spoilers.
Yeah. I did see an interesting thing the other day on the internet. So, fact check what you will. But it was the classic, like, oh God, this is an expensive fucking hobby. In relation to like the old world specifically. And and everybody was sort of like, well, it's not really compared to the other kind of grown up hobbies you could have. And they're like, well, teenager, blah, 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 blah. And somebody actually went and like mathed out the old world boxes compared to what that, did kind of the math on like, well, inflation is a thing. So let's like math it all out. And it is apparently, and I believed the statistics and I believed the math enough to say it, on the internet here on our podcast, but haven't redone it. But it is apparently actually cheaper for somebody to get into the hobby now than it was when I got into the hobby in like the 90s.
Really? I 100% believe that.
Like the models have doubled in price, right?
Yeah.
Like my box of 10 Space Marines was $25. And I remember because I started the hobby recently enough for all the people that were already in it to be bitching about how it went to 25 for 10 instead of whatever it had been before. And now it's like 50 for 10. But inflation being the bitches like it is, and like minimum wage in the US and most places being what it is, they're like, if you're some kid working a shit minimum wage job, as I was at the time, it's actually a less expensive hobby than it was. So despite all of our occasional bitching about GW and their prices, apparently it's cheaper. Again,
I don't know.
And
I don't know. I'm going to have to fact check that one, Austin.
he was talking about starter. He was talking specifically about like starter boxes. So
Okay.
Yeah.
whether
might be-
you know, although I will say, the friggin' McDonald's hash browns used to be 2 for $1, and now I just paid $2.50 for one. So like, fuck me, right?
Also, they had Assault on Blackreach came out on made to order, and that was what, $150,
something like that.
Yeah.
Granted, I'm sure made to order has their made to order, premium that put on top of that, but still.
What was Assault on Blackreach before? Because honestly, $150 sounds
find out right now.
right.
Yeah.
In which case, that's a hell of a deal. Inflation's been 7% a year since that came out.
It is ultimately not a ton of models.
No.
I will say. It's what stopped me from grabbing it.
Right, because all I really wanted out of that kit is that friggin' down pilot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted
I've
the
got the
pilot
Crash
and
Aquila, so-
the full. Yeah, I don't have that, so I wanted that. But the terrain in the pilot was not enough for me to pull the trigger on it.
But hopefully they'll be showing up for the people that only wanted those Gene Stealers or something.
Mm-hmm.
Guess it was originally £40
So it would have been about $100
back in 2000, 2008.
Yeah, probably about $100. 2008.
Gonna map this out. This is beautiful podcasting.
Yeah.
Let's see. I will figure this out later.
Okay.
Tune in next time. So come out.
Next time for the Blackreach
Yep,
math. If we
In
remember.
2008,
Yep.
the pound was, we'll call it $2. The internet
see.
says it was $185 to the pound, but GW notoriously lags behind that conversion rate. So yeah, it would have been like $80 or $90.
So apparently 100 pounds in 2008 is equivalent to a purchasing power of 167.21 today. So 40 pounds.
We'll edit some of this in post.
40 pounds. 40 pounds
Yeah.
a day is purchasing power of 66.
It was not. It was not $65. It just was not.
Well, 66 pounds.
66 pounds. Oh,
Yeah. Doctor Who.
I was about to say it was not $60. I remember that.
If we do want to save this math for next time, another thing you could look at is you could go to the UK store and see how many pounds they're selling it for today, and just compare that.
We're gonna have a whole episode where we get on the Wayback Machine and just price point.
Have you been to the Wayback on the Forge World website?
I have.
There's some cool stuff. That's some cool stuff.
Believe it.
Lots of cool, neat old terrain and things. Anyway, once
Speaking
again,
of new stuff,
Oh, okay. All right.
I do have one more.
Are we
thing I
talking
want
about
to
that
talk
Bretonian?
All right.
No, we're not. What we're talking about is the preview that's happening in less than a week at LVO.
Man, I forget that LVO is so early in the year. Like,
Right.
I always think events are like summer, fall, because that's the events that I pay attention to, because LVO is on the other side of the country.
However, it's the preview is coming up this week, so
We'll get
Solar
one-
Ox.
Oh, sorry. You had stepped away. We had briefly brushed on that.
Okay.
So we're hoping Solar Ox. I also would like to see a next campaign book.
And honestly, both is the way they seem to go. You could have those new heavy walkers and a Solar Oxy campaign book, and I'd be so happy.
Yeah, they could roll that in for sure.
Campaign books are my biggest thing that draws my money out these days. So
And a plastic Arvis, because they got those little ones now.
they got the
And
little
I'm going to buy a
ones.
box for no better reason than to make my spaceport terrain look cooler.
I was considering that myself.
Yeah.
If they come out with the 28 millimeter one, I might have to get one there as well.
Well, it's a great Ink 28 plot device as well. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. I still have a resin one I haven't built up yet. I had the what's the Rogue Trader Kill Team?
Yeah.
Back when they had like rules. I think they back when we were like messing around with like 8th or 9th edition Crusade.
Yeah.
I was making like a Rogue Trader group, and I was going to have the Arvis Lighter as their transport.
And ninth edition Crusade was so cool. It's a shame 9th edition itself was fine.
Well, anyways, that was then. This is now.
Yeah.
Tune in
Before
next
we go
time.
on for another
we'll talk
rant.
more. Yeah, we'll talk about more math and pounds, and I'm sure we'll find some more old world stuff for Austin and Jared to talk about later in the future, including the Bretonian Knight in 2008, who was modeled back then, is now here.
Yes, and he is a delight. And I know people are making fun of his face because his face is a little dumb, but
He's very 2008.
look at any given Habsburg prince and tell me he doesn't blend right in. I'm
He's
just
so realistic.
saying.
He looks like he's been chilling out in Caliban.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
He's a fun mini.
pretty cool.
And his little buddy is just hilarious. Like, what if we gave an 8-year-old a robe and a helmet and just had him follow this guy around? I'm sure the Beastmen won't kill him and abide by the laws of war.
That's what Warhammer needs. More child soldiers.
To be fair, Warhammer has always had child soldiers, and they're not leaning
sure.
into it as much as they used to, and it does make me a little sad.
Yeah.
Like, what is... We used to have a whole unit of white shields.
Clips.
Hey, here are these 12-year-olds we gave rifles to. Go do the work. Where is that? Where is my white shield providence in militia? Reduce cost.
Once again, thanks for
Reduce
listening
cost of
to the
levies
Remembrancers Retreat.
by 50%. They're all children.
Christ alive.
All of the las rifles are now heavy.
If you enjoyed our program, be sure to watch.
And they get stubborn because they just don't have a concept of death anymore.
On iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to this podcast. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at our 30K
Jesse just
podcast.
sounds so sad.
If you like to
The
support
Remembrancers
this program
Retreat does
with-
not condone real child soldiers.
Thank Christ alive. Glad someone said that. If you enjoy our program, like to support us, go to patreon.com, become a member. I forgot the patrons. Hang on.
We'll edit it in post. It'll be fine.
No, we're not. We're right here. We're right here.
Okay, I died for a moment, but I'm back.
Y'all
You
drive
can
me
fit-
crazy.
Double the amount of them in a transport. There, I'm done.
I'd like to thank Alex Self, Andrew N., Chaplain Ansar, Chris Kymick, Chris Mack, Daniel, Edvin Ullman, Real Snice, Rena the Floof, and Variance Hammer. Thank you all so much for being...
Cannot be combined with Warrior Elite.
Thanks for becoming Flexomancers. Damn it. What am I doing?
The other
Oh,
Patreons.
If I missed you this week, I promise I'll get back to you next week. My name is Jesse, and I was here today with Michael. Say goodbye, Michael.
Bye.
And Austin. The
Remembrancers Retreat does not condone,
how many white shields can you fit in a Gorgon, Austin?
by my rules, 80. 84?
Oh, Christ. Have a good night, everybody. Keep those dice rolling. And Happy New Year. GoblinsHut.com is the distributor for the Dirty Down paint line and other hobby products in North America. Dirty Down liquid effects and aging sprays have been used by prop masters in TV and film for over 30 years to create incredible realistic-looking effects in a fast, reliable way. They can be spotted in some of your favorite media such as Star Wars, Game of Thrones, and Alien, just to name a few. That precision has now been brought to the miniature realm and is taking the hobby by storm. In the Dirty Down line, you'll find rust, moss, and verdigris effects unlike anything else on the market. With a vigorous shake and a mix of a bottle, a single wash creates the combined effects of multiple other paints and even provides a subtle texture. Dirty Down's entire line is also water-soluble, so you can achieve a wide variety of effects, entirely reworking, removing, or layering to your heart's content to achieve the perfect weathered look. With this capability, the line is perfect for speed painting while also having the depth for use for competition pieces. If you'd like to buy Dirty Down at a shop near you, ask your friendly local game store to go to goblinshut.com for information on stocking it. You can also purchase it direct as well. Also, all listeners of the Remembrancers Retreat can get a 5% discount on your online order with the promo code RR30K. And patrons of the Remembrancers Retreat get 15% off their orders. Once again, that's goblinshut.com, home of the Dirty Down liquid effects.